Time travel, a concept that has astounded the human mind for decades. Some say it's impossible, some say it's just a matter of numbers. On April 23, 2006, in the city of Kyiv, Ukraine, a man in his 20s was seen acting confused and anxious, staring at a tall apartment building. He approached the police asking for directions to a place that no longer existed. This scared young man, who didn't know where he was wearing old-fashioned clothes. When the police asked him for his ID, he handed it to them, and the first thing they noticed was that it was issued from a country that no longer existed as such. It was the Soviet Union. Ukraine had, of course, been part of the Soviet Union in the past, but the Soviet Union had dissolved almost a couple of decades earlier at that point. The police just didn't often see such IDs anymore, especially from young people. Yet this man, who looked like he was in his 20s, had an ID stating that his birth date was the year 1932, and he matched the photo in the ID. Something didn't add up. When they asked him what day he thought it was, he answered, April 23rd, 1958. That's when the police decided to take him to a, let's say, safe place, where he could speak to a nice doctor. Sergey, as the man was called, ended up in the care of Dr. Pablo Krutrakov. So the doctor played along the whole time and asked Sergey if he could remember how he wound up in 2006, even though he thought it was 1958. Sergey explained,
It was daytime. I wanted to go for a walk in city. I took my camera, but when I left my house, I saw a strange object that had bell shape, and it was flying strange way. It's difficult to explain what I seen. It might be better to look at photos I took with camera.
Dr. Krutrakov, curious, got hold of Sergey's camera. The first thing he noticed was an old, rare Yashica Flex camera, and the doctor, who had some knowledge of photography, recognized it immediately as an antique. The camera used a type of film that hadn't been manufactured since the 1970s. Dr. Krutrakov called in a photography expert named Vadim Poisner, who took the film out and was able to see from the information on the reel that it was made in 1956 and that it was new, in perfect condition. Poisner revealed the film, and at that point, things got even more strange. When the roll was developed, the photos revealed scenes of Kyiv, but clearly from a long time ago. Everything from the cars to the clothes and street signs was from the 1950s. There were even photos of buildings that no longer existed. Among the pictures was Sergey with his girlfriend at the time, wearing the same clothes he had been found in. The final photo on the reel showed a bell-shaped UFO, just as Sergey had described. When asked about the UFO photo, Sergey responded,
Now are you convinced I'm telling truth? I still don't understand what object was, or how something like this happened to me. When I looked down at my camera, suddenly I was in this year.
Dr. Krutrakov, being a scientifically minded man, hypothesized that if this was some sort of alien spacecraft, it might have transported Sergey across the universe at the speed of light, and due to Einstein's theory of relativity, Sergey would have experienced time dilation, meaning that time would have barely passed for him, while on Earth, 47 years would have gone by. That night, Sergey returned to his room, closed the door, and was never seen again. The hospital's security cameras captured him entering the room, but there was no footage of him leaving. The room had only one exit, and it was under constant surveillance. The windows had bars, so there was no way for him to escape without being noticed. Sergey had vanished, leaving behind his camera, his photographs, and a mystery to solve. The police later investigated and found that there had indeed been a man named Sergey Panamarenko, who was declared missing in Kyiv in 1960. They even tracked down his former girlfriend, now in her mid-70s by the time of the investigation. She confirmed that Sergey had disappeared in 1958, but returned a few days later, the exact amount of time he had spent in 2006. However, she also said that he disappeared again in the 1970s, but this time, never to be seen again. Years after he vanished for the second time, Sergey's girlfriend received a strange photo in the mail. It was from Sergey, and according to the note he left, the photo was taken in 2050. The picture showed an older Sergey with a mustache, standing in front of a futuristic Kyiv skyline filled with skyscrapers. He also wrote that he would be back soon, but that never happened. Sergey Ponomarenko's case has become one of the most well-documented stories of time travel in history. But unfortunately, this was the third episode of a Ukrainian TV show called Alien back in 2012. However, no one can't deny that this may have been based on true events. Whether time travel is possible or not now, once it becomes possible, it will have always been possible.